Welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining me again today. We're going to continue to look at this whole idea of the feast, the celebration that the Father offered to the Son in this story of Luke chapter 15. The Father's invitation was, will you join my feast? Will you join my celebration? Will you join my party? That's the Father's invitation to the Son. It's, Son, will you share my table with me? In that culture, to dine as a guest in someone's home was a great honor. And the host was then honor-bound to protect and defend you. In other words, it was a safe place. So if you were out traveling and you had nowhere to go and you were out vulnerable on the street, vulnerable to robbers and thieves and muggers and whatnot, you're vulnerable out there on that street. If somebody invited you to come into their home and sit at their table with them, that was a marvel. It was not only just a chance to get a good meal, but it meant that that host was then honor-bound to protect you, to provide for your needs, to keep you safe. It was a safe place. It was like a ship out on an ocean that's storm-tossed and the waves are crashing and the wind is howling. And somebody at the harbor opens the gate and says, come on in here, bring your boat in here. And then they close that gate off again, which stops the waves from entering into the harbor. And you're in a safe place where you can rest. And so that Father is offering the Son a place of rest. He's saying, I want you to come in and join me at my table. This son who was destitute, was homeless, was vulnerable to attack. He was vulnerable to the gossip of the neighbors. You see, if he'd kept him out in the street, then the neighbors could have kept pointing fingers. They could have kept whispering. They could have been still examining to see, how bad a shape he's in. And so all of that would have been going on. But the Father brings him into the house. He brings him into the table. And that's a safe and wonderful place. He's no longer vulnerable. He's no longer open to attack. That's what God does for you and I. He invites us to come into his table. There was an old song. You remember that? Come and dine, the Master calleth, come and dine. It was a song about how God invites us to come to his table. And then, of course, in communion Sundays, every time we're invited to the table, let's be reminded of this story, that God invites us to a safe place. He invites us to a fellowship meal. He invites us, when we come to the table of the Lord and take the wine in the cup or the wine in the bread, then he's saying, you're in a safe place. I'll protect you. I'll protect you here. You're okay here. You're not vulnerable here with me. You're safe and under my shelter and not open to attack. That's part of, let's run to the table of the Lord. That's one of the reasons I love communion, is because every time we take it, we are reminded that at Father's table, we're safe from the enemy's attack. It is a place of rest. It is a place of restoration. It's a place of nourishment. It's a place of being sustained. All of those wonderful concepts are at the table of the Lord. And, it's back to Psalm 23, isn't it? You prepare a table in the presence of my enemies. You invite me to come to your table, to spend time at your table. Because, you see, that's so powerful in Psalm 23. Because it's saying, yes, there are enemies all around me, but when I'm at the table of the Lord, when I'm at the King's table, I'm safe. I'm protected from all. They may be all around me, but this is a place of shelter. This is a place of refuge. This is a place of safety. Come to the table. We're safe at Abba's table. That is such incredibly good news for that young man who was so destitute, so broken, so vulnerable to people, to being used and hurt and broken and attacked. To hear his Father say, will you come into the table with me? Will you come in and sit down at the table with me and be in that place? I'll protect you. I'll defend you. I'll stand between you and your enemies. I'll keep you from being open to attack. Wonderful, wonderful truth today. Let's rejoice in it. Let's think about it, and let's celebrate being at the table of the Lord, being at the King's table. And we'll talk again tomorrow. God bless.